Thank you very much, Alan, and good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with all of you tonight, and also to have the opportunity to say a few words on behalf of Manulife Financial. I'd like to start by congratulating the Ontario Chamber of Commerce on the 10th anniversary of the Ontario Economic Summit. It looks like you've got a great agenda planned over the next couple of days. Emerging stronger, convening for success. That's the theme that serves as a backdrop for this year's summit. In particular, delegates are being asked to focus on how Ontario-based businesses can better seize the opportunities presented to us in the global marketplace. Manulife is a Canadian company that's had a fair degree of success internationally. We actually sold our first insurance policy in Shanghai in 1897, which was 6 years before we opened our first office in the US in Detroit, Michigan. We're still making forays into new markets, though, and these days that comes with a particular emphasis on the very rapidly growing markets in Asia, where we have operations currently in 11 countries. In fact, today, almost 75% of our revenues come from outside of Canada. Despite our long-established presence in some Asian markets, we're still learning new and interesting things all the time as we do business and open up in new markets across Asia. I'd like to share some of our experiences with you today, and I hope that regardless of the size of your business, that there's something that you can take away from some of my comments. You'll see that I've tried to focus on not the markets that we're long established in, but some of our newer markets where I think there might be more of a parallel for some of you who may not have ventured into the Asian markets yet. But I hope you'll find them applicable as you look to find profitable, sustainable growth beyond Canada's borders. I also hope that the government leaders gathered here today will continue to recognize the importance of providing Canadian businesses with the tools to be successful abroad, to help strengthen our economy, our province, and our country. So, lesson 1, take advantage of brand Canada. Don't underestimate the attractiveness of the Canadian brand and the maple leaf with businesses and customers outside of Canada. Manulife, along with many Canadian financial institutions, has benefited greatly from the Canadian brand, particularly since the global financial crisis. As you all know, following the worst days of the global crisis, the world media held Canada up as an example of fiscal responsibility and restraint. The economic policies put in place by the federal government and Minister Flaherty, who's here with us this evening, helped Canada weather the storm far better than most countries. As a result, our financial system has become the new standard for regulation and supervision around the world. This means that the Canada brand has never been stronger. And I think that applies even outside of financial services. I think there's that halo effect of how we weathered the financial crisis. Canadian products and services are associated with high quality and excellence. Canadians and Canadian businesses are viewed virtually in all parts of the world as trustworthy and reliable business partners. And I can tell you from where I sit, that's a message that resonates with prospective employees as well. When I go out and talk to new employees who've joined Manulife in different parts of Asia, that concept of trustworthy and reliable is something that really resonates with prospective employees in many of the emerging markets. So the Canada brand is a hard-earned advantage, and one that we need to take advantage of as a business. We leverage the goodwill afforded to Canadian companies in our business all the time in Asia, and I'd encourage you to do the same. It helps to open doors, to start conversations, and also to jumpstart valuable business relationships that are so important in so many of these markets. So the first lesson is that as Canadians, don't be shy about wrapping yourself in the Canadian flag. Lesson number 2, leverage your capabilities across markets. At Manulife, we try to leverage our existing capabilities to help capitalize on new business opportunities wherever they exist. This can be a challenge across time zones and geographic borders, cultural barriers, but done well, it allows you to expand in a more cost-efficient manner. Now, I'll confess that we haven't always had this view at Manulife, and it is challenging at times. Sometimes it's easy to think, oh, well, that's just a startup, it's a small market. We don't need sort of all the infrastructure that we need in a bigger market. But one day you realize that with hard work and some good luck, that small business that you started up is thriving and successful, and it can benefit from the things that you've developed in other parts of the world. An example in my world in HR is in Indonesia. Now, Manulife's been doing business in Indonesia for many years, but there was a period a few years ago, over the course of about 2 to 3 years, where the economy was picking up, investment in the economy was picking up, and the rate of hiring for us was really picking up as well. Interestingly enough, I guess I happened to be over there, and I was meeting with one of our brand new recruiters. We'd never had recruiters in place before, but we hired a dedicated recruiter, and I was talking to her, and she was telling me that she had posted a job opening with our business over there, and had 1,000 applicants. Our business there wasn't equipped to deal with 1,000 applicants that were submitting paper-based resumes. So I have this vision of a recruiter that had a stack like this of 1,000 resumes. She probably took the top 50, and I'd venture to say the other 950 ended up in the garbage somewhere. But we were able to quickly leverage the vendor who we have a relationship with in North America to take our recruitment management system and the processes that we have in place in Canada and implement them quite quickly in Indonesia to help our recruiters there to be able to catch up to the rate of business growth that we were experiencing. On their own, our individual businesses over there would have been too small to necessarily be able to make the investment in state-of-the-art technology. But by leveraging off of our learnings in Canada, they were able to afford the investment, but we also helped them up the learning curve because we were able to help them with the processes that we'd already established around that technology. So we helped to jumpstart what was going on over there. So that's an example of leveraging our internal processes across markets. But we can also leverage our business knowledge as well, taking lessons that we've learned, successes that we've had from North America, and applying them in other markets. For example, long-term retirement saving programs are ingrained in the Canadian subconscious. Canadians put over $30 billion a year into RRSPs and an equal amount into workplace pensions. In China and many other Asian countries, however, these types of long-term tax-deferred savings vehicles don't exist. So Manulife is in the process of working to build the market, working to build the environment in the market for long-term savings products. As a leading pension administrator in Canada and the US, we have a lot of success to be able to leverage off of. So we can help consumers in Asia prepare for their retirement. Since many Asian countries are in the early stages of building systems for retirement savings and are interested in understanding how they can leverage best practice from other markets, both from a government perspective as well as from an industry perspective, to build a world-class system of their own. Now, while we've learned a lot about the value of leveraging capabilities within our organization across geographies, the third lesson that we learned a long time ago is the need to adapt to the local market, to your point earlier. There's a quote that paraphrases Charles Darwin: "It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that's most adaptable to change." You need to build awareness of the unique characteristics of doing business in the landscape of so many of these different markets. Doing this also forces you to really look at your own business, your products and services from a fresh perspective, and adapt to a completely new business environment. Along the way, we found that in many cases, we're actually developing new solutions over there that we can then repatriate into our more developed markets, into more established businesses. As I mentioned earlier, our company does business in 11 markets across Asia right now. That's 11 distinct populations, distinct cultures, distinct regulators, you name it. They are all unique in their own way. There isn't just one Asia, so the key's been to adapt to the particular requirements of each market. Last year, Manulife was proud to become the first foreign-owned life insurance company to get a license in Cambodia. Cambodia, which suffered greatly during the Vietnam War and under the rule of the Khmer Rouge, is today one of the fastest growing economies in Asia. In fact, the country's economic growth has averaged about 6% over the last decade. But there are a lot of interesting things about Cambodia. For example, the average age is 23. That's the average age of the entire population is 23. That fact, combined with their volatile history, means that thinking is very short-term. People think short-term because their parents survived by thinking short-term. The concept of planning for the future is totally foreign to them, which is a challenge, of course, for us as a provider of life insurance and wealth management products. So here we are with a license to sell insurance and no market understanding of our product. No local employees with experience in our industry. To illustrate the point, during one of our public education sessions that we do over there, our general manager in Cambodia was telling me, they were trying to educate people on general financial planning and insurance products, and a man in the audience put up his hand and said, "So let me understand this life insurance concept. So when I die, you'll give my family money, they give you the body, my body." So obviously, it's difficult to succeed in a market where the general population has no understanding of your products and services. We've had to adapt. It's just not enough for us to introduce our products, obviously, in that environment. We have to work to build consumer understanding and a market for our products. Over the last year, our executives over there have done education sessions for 13,000 Cambodians to educate them on our products as consumers, but also to educate them on the opportunities in insurance as a career. We've had to develop innovative marketing partnerships with local businesses to build awareness of our brand and products that we've never had to think of in other markets. In a recent campaign, a small group of employees in Manulife uniforms on Manulife-branded scooters drove around Phnom Penh, stopping at educational institutions to provide people with education on financial products and insurance in particular. So we're having to build a market for products in ways that are appropriate for that particular market, because you're not likely to see any Manulife employees on scooters in Toronto anytime soon, let alone wearing Manulife uniforms. But the fact that staff and customers had no preconceived ideas about our products and services is also a tremendous opportunity. It's easier to put new things in place there than it is to get people to change in more established markets. We see opportunities for Cambodia to help us leapfrog, to test processes that would be difficult to change in North America or in other more established markets in Asia, like paperless sales process. And goodness knows, we can learn a lot about how we train our employees and our sales agents in that environment. So if we'd simply gone into this market using what had worked for us in the past, it obviously wouldn't have worked. We had to see the market through new eyes and adapt our products, our processes, and our whole approach. And that new approach is actually translated into brand recognition that is among the highest of Manulife's level of brand recognition anywhere in the world outside of Canada, interestingly enough, and a promising new marketplace for our company. So take advantage of Brand Canada. Leverage your capabilities into new markets and adapt. These three lessons continue to be incredibly important at Manulife as we work to grow our presence in key markets across Asia. And I believe they're also applicable to businesses of all shapes and sizes that are looking at becoming more competitive on the global stage. Once again, I'd like to thank the summit organizers for the invitation to address everyone this evening. Manulife is proud to be a supporter of this event, and we'd like to extend our best wishes for the remainder of the summit. Thank you very much.